I want to watch some YouTube. Okay. New prime icons are now beginning packed in FIFA 20. What the Okay, guys, so today we're going to be watching I Got Kidnapped by a New Artist.
Hi, I'm Violet, and this is the story of how I ended up replacing a crazy guy's wife, and I blame my screwed up parents. Like, they never allowed
Yeah, you're just gonna let a fucking dude artist kidnap you just because you argued with your parents.
me to ever date because they were unbelievably
I agree with the parents.
protective. Meaning, locks on my doors, checking my phone, curfew at 8 p.m. protective.
Good.
So, boyfriends were basically like aliens to me.
Well, good.
That is, until Jasper. I found Jasper on an art website. There was an article about his art.
No. Okay, guys. Okay, hopefully, I don't know what to say. Oh, okay.
Work. He's actually into drawing nude oil paintings. I was fascinated by his art and decided to send him a message, and from there, we hit it off. I started sneaking down to my phone every night to text him.
Oh my God. Imagine your parents just came in your room and they saw you fucking texting a nude artist. Oh my God.
He kept telling me that he feels like he knew me for years. Cute, right? Soon, he asked me out to the art gallery. I knew my parents would never.
Oh my God. Why would you agree to this? Like, he's of course a fucking aging pedophile.
Let me go, so I just snuck out the window. I know, not the best idea. But
Well, if you live on the 6th floor, it's a good idea, you know, just kill yourself.
I wasn't gonna just give up on a guy only because my parents were boring losers.
Yeah, I'll just give up my parents that literally raised me and literally taught me how to speak just for nude art.
Plus, I'm 18. It's not like anyone should control me.
Well, why would you even want a fucking picture of you naked in the public? Yeah, ID card. What's her name? I'm just gonna name her Alice. Yeah, I'm Alice. I want to show naked pictures of me by a fucking nude art. I can't keep up with this.
I'm 18. It's not like anyone should control me. So,
Yes, they should control you because you're a dumb teenager.
when I got to the art gallery, Jasper texted, telling me he was behind the building. I felt a little nervous because, to be honest, I really liked this guy. When I saw
Yeah, he's gonna tell you to get naked.
him, I ran quickly and gave him a hug. Then this got a bit steamy and we started making out.
What is this?
He was so hot. He said that I was prettier than he had imagined and gave me a glass of sparkling wine.
Oh my God! Please no! Please no! You're the dumbest teenager I've ever seen.
I took a sip and went back to making out with him, but then a flash of light nearly blinded me. I heard a car roar towards me. I tried to step back, but I had nowhere to go. A figure stepped out, and I yelled to Jasper for help, but no luck. My head was spinning. Everything was happening so fast.
Yep, that's kids why you don't go with a fucking nude artist. I am so A nude artist.
Figure suddenly grabbed me and everything went black. I can still remember the rumble of the tires underneath me. It took me a long time to realize I was in the trunk, and an even longer time to realize there was no way out. I felt so stupid. Of course,
You felt stupid. Well, that's what you get for not listening to your loser fucking parents.
end up in this situation with a guy I find online who's into painting nudes. I wanted to cry, but I knew crying wasn't going to help me survive.
Yeah, you can drink your fucking tears, bitch.
This. Next thing I knew, I was opening my eyes in a dark room. I was chained to a wall. I thought about the true crime shows I had watched and started to feel sick to my stomach. I was afraid that he's planning to do the unthinkable. My head was spinning with a million questions. I can't believe I liked this guy.
He's a nude artist. He's gonna fucking get you naked. What are you thinking? What are you dumbass teenager?
For real. And then the door opened. Jasper stood in front of me. I could feel my skin crawl. He had just kidnapped me, and he was standing there smiling? I don't want to hurt you, Amy, he said. Whoa, I thought. Who the heck is Amy? Had he kidnapped the wrong person? Was this seriously a case of mistaken identity? I told him I wasn't Amy. The smile on his face faded in an instant. It was like watching him transform into a different person. He punched the wall. I was so scared I shrunk down as much as I could. He screamed that I was Amy and to stop lying to him. I told him I wanted to go home, and he told me this was my home now. He unlocked my chains.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This is so fake. This is, I really wanna, okay, when I finish this video, I'm gonna go to pray. Oh my god, fuck. Oh my god. Okay, let me just stop pressing. So let's go back into this.
And gave me a comfy bedroom and told me to rest. The next few days.
Okay, first, let me just, wait a second. No nude artist would get you a fucking Big Mac in a large fries and a large Coke. And we'll get you some nudes.
Went like this. He brought me fast food, came in and talked to me.
No dumb kidnapper would kidnap a girl and then let her go in his home. She will call 911, dumbass.
And that was it. None of the horrible things I was expecting happened. I was so confused. Who was Amy? And what the heck was wrong with Jasper? Why was I even here? Then, he came in and threw a wad of clothes at me. He told me to get dressed. To my shock, it was a wedding dress. The creepiest part?
It's his ex.
Fit perfectly. After I put it on, Jasper took me in his arms and danced with me. He
Fucking hell. The cringe. This is so fake.
started whispering to me about how perfect our wedding had been. He brushed my hair with his hand, and he even leaned in to kiss me. I went along with it. I was too scared to do anything else. After we were married, Jasper let me out of the room for the first time. My days turned into cleaning the house for him, doing his laundry, ironing his clothes. I was like a housewife's slave to him. I wanted to escape so badly, but the windows
Well, that's what you get, dumb fuck.
were all blacked out with bars on them. The front door had about 1 million different locks. There was one warning Jasper gave me when he let me out the first time. I was not to go in that room. At the end of the hall, there was a door locked with a deadbolt. I wanted to know desperately what was inside, but that was a secret that was going to have to wait. He walked me into the kitchen one day and asked me to make him his favorite. I started cooking pasta because, honestly, I didn't know how to cook anything else. When I served him the pasta, he took one bite and whipped it against the wall. He yelled at me for putting mushrooms in it because I knew he was allergic. I didn't know what to say. I apologized over and over again, but he threw the plate at me. I felt the tears start to roll down my cheeks. How much more of this could I
What was on the plate?
possibly take? That's when I heard it. From the end of the hall, a weak woman's voice. Jasper? Jasper, dear, what's going on? The look on Jasper's face told me I wasn't supposed to hear that. He ran toward the room and rushed inside. As the door opened, I saw the faintest outline, a frail, pretty woman lying in bed. Her hair had fallen out, and her face was sunken in and exhausted. I knew in my heart that it was Amy. She looked like she was dying. Was I here to replace Amy? I didn't have that long to even think about her, about what I had seen. The next day, I woke up to find another girl in the room with me. She told me her name was Kiera, and she had met Jasper on a dating app. Kiera looked almost exactly like me, and I had a...
Yeah, she definitely looks like you. Your hair is definitely not different. Definitely her hair is not brown and yours is not. I don't know.
Suspicion that we both looked a lot like Amy. I helped Kiera through her crying, and I told her
My God, I can't deal with this. Why is her boobs in teacher?
that Jasper hadn't done anything terrible to me yet. I just told her to stay calm and listen to what he said. I felt a little hopeful. It seemed for the first time we might actually have a chance to fight him. We might actually be able to win this. Jasper referred to both of us as Amy. For a few weeks, he only spoke to us separately. I would cook while Kiera cleaned, then we'd swap. I don't know how many days we went like this before I saw my chance. One day, he sat in his usual seat. His ring of keys, our chance to escape, was sitting next to him on the ground. I whispered to Kiera and begged her to distract Jasper. She nodded and sat in his lap. The two chatted and romanced about their history while I snagged the keys. I stuffed them in my pocket. That night, when he was asleep, we would escape. I didn't even bother trying to sleep that night. We were going to escape. I was finally going to be able to see my parents. I was finally going to be out of this nightmare. The clock struck
Your friends are so weird that they suck nudes until they die. Okay, I have to stop.
2 a.m. I shook Kiera awake. As quietly as possible, we crept towards the door. The click of the lock was the greatest noise I've ever heard. But when we got into the hall, I realized something. I had to get Amy, the real Amy, out of here. If she was sick, she shouldn't be in the care of a psycho. I gave Kiera the keys and told her to unlock the back door while I rescued Amy. I took a deep breath and opened the door. A closer look absolutely broke my heart. Amy practically looked like a skeleton. Her hair was missing, her body was frail.
Cancer vibes. Fake video vibes, bitchy.
She even had a weird rash across her face. I asked if she was okay and told her I was going to get her out of here to a doctor. She looked up to me, and that's when I realized she was blind. She started to cry and told me we had to be quiet or he would hear us. She started to tell me that he was insane and she had tried to leave him years ago after they got married, but he started to poison her to keep her there. My heart was pounding. She had been trapped in here with him for years now.
Oh my God, this is so freaking... I don't even think this is a psycho. This is a next level psycho. This is Superman psycho.
I helped Amy to her feet and promised I'd get her out of here. In a hurry, we rushed out the door. I can't put into words how incredible the fresh air felt for the first time in months. Kiera was waiting on the path for us. I smiled at her, and she smiled back. But something was wrong. There was something evil in her eyes. Jasper stepped out of the shadows. Kiera told me I was wrong for leaving Jasper. Couldn't I see that he needed us, that he loved us, that he just wanted us to be a family? Kiera was brainwashed. I could feel my blood run cold. She had set us all up to be caught. How could she have done this? How could she love him? I grabbed Amy and tried to run, but Jasper held on to me. I started screaming for help, but that's when I realized we were in the middle of nowhere. There were no neighbors, just desert and mountains.
Who the fuck marries a guy that lives in the fucking middle of fucking nowhere? Sell your nudes. Get that place. Okay. Wait, am I in here? Okay, let's go. Okay.
For miles. Jasper grabbed me by the arm and started hauling me in the house, calling me Amy and screaming at me. I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I called him every name I could think of. I told him he was an abusive monster. I screamed at him that Amy was still alive and now he was never going to be able to have her. For an instant, his grip loosened. In that instant, I shoved him to the ground. I heard his head hit the stair, but I didn't bother to look. I slung Amy over my shoulder and we rushed off into the night. I could still hear Kiera screaming at us as we hobbled down the road. By the time we finally reached a police station, I realized I was 400 miles away from my hometown. The police went to Jasper's house.
Oh, God. 400 miles? Fuck. Okay, well, now they don't have eyes. This animation is so fake.
And arrested both him and Kiera. But they were shocked I was alive. Apparently, Jasper wasn't his real name. His real name was Kevin, and he had been wanted in multiple states for murder. Amy wasn't the first woman he had done this to. There were 3 other women that he had married and poisoned, and dozens of kidnappings attributed to him. I felt like I was going to pass out. How had I been so lucky?
Yep, you're not lucky. You're not lucky. You toss a picture of shit.
Why had I survived and no one else? Since then, I've gone back to
Because I don't know.
live with my parents. Amy went back to live with her parents after being missing for 6 years, and they were so thrilled.
Dang, 6 years? Are you... Shit. What?
To have her home. I can't put into words how fortunate I feel to be alive.
So the lesson of this story is this is fucking fake and don't go with the nude artist. I hate this.